Okay, guys, we're going to work on proof number 5 now. So for proof 5, let's start off by writing in our given information. So I know that angle BDE is going to be angle to BE congruent to angle BED. So that's this angle and this angle, BDE and BDE, so I can mark those congruent. Also, I know that AB and CB are going to be congruent. So AB and CB are going to be congruent. So there we go. I've marked up my given information. Now let's go down here and let's write in our final step. So AD, segment AD is going to be congruent to segment CE. So let's write that here. So segment AD is going to be congruent to segment CE. And we need a piece of evidence. And we've seen that the piece of evidence that probably is going to work best for this is if we're going to say that corresponding sides, and this is corresponding sides of congruent triangles, but I'm going to leave that of congruent triangles out. So corresponding sides are congruent. Now we know that to prove this, we're going to need to prove that some triangle is congruent. So let's take a look at what exactly we're trying to prove. We're trying to say that AD, right, if we look up here, AD is congruent to CE. Now for those, we probably are going to need to prove that these triangles here are congruent to each other. So let's go ahead and write that step in. We know that we need that. So I want to say ABD, triangle ABD is congruent to triangle CBE. Triangle CBE. Now I need a piece of information, okay? So how are we going to prove that? Well, this is tricky because I've only got one side so far. I've got this AB is congruent to CB. So I'm going to need some more information. We need some more angles and sides. Let's try and figure out what we can prove here, okay? So right away, I'm going to see that I've got vertical angles. And so I'm just going to go ahead and draw this in because I know I can prove this, and I think it's probably going to help me. So let's just go ahead and write that. Let's go ahead and write that step. Let's say that ABD, so let's say that angle ABD is congruent to angle CBE. CBE. And we said that was vertical angles. All right, cool. Okay, so now I've got a side and an angle. Well, I know I can't do angles. We know that I can't do angle side side because that would be ass, and we know that there's no ass in geometry. So maybe I can start thinking about like angle side or maybe side angle side. And so I'm going to go ahead and notice that if we look at this triangle right here, well, I've got two angles that are congruent to each other, which makes that an isosceles triangle, which is probably going to be really useful to me. So I'm going to go ahead and remember that if I have an isosceles triangle, then the sides opposite the congruent angles are also congruent to each other. Okay, and then let's get our arrows out of there. Okay, so I think that was probably helpful. So let's go ahead and write down what we did. We said that DB, okay, segment DB was congruent to segment EB. And the way that we knew that was that they're part of an isosceles triangle. Okay, cool. And now, the one thing we didn't write in yet, we didn't write in what is this going to be? What's this piece of proof going to be? And so if I look back up here, how can I prove that these two triangles are congruent? Well, if I look at it now, now I have a side, I have an angle, and I have a side. So it gives me side, angle, side. Erase all this stuff. And I'm going to put in side, angle, side as my proof. And that's it. That's good enough. All right.